Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of our Twilight Princess book club, where we are covering the Twilight Princess manga. There it is. What we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about chapters 2, 3, and 4 from book 1. Our first episode, we got a little bit of backstory on Midna in the Twilight Realm in Light and Shadow Part 1, which doesn't really exist in the game, but we are now getting Link's sort of origin, which starts with Light and Shadow Part 2, but continues on into the chapters Ordon Village and Omens. It more mirrors the opening of the game in that we're learning about Link and his life in Ordon Village and some of the looming the omens, if you will. I like this opening scene he had with Russell. That's just pretty much directly taken from the game. Gives it a little bit more ambiance, though. They're sort of talking about what happens, at night, why they keep the gate locked up.
Link in the game does not have a lot of personality because,
Yes.
He's just meant to be the
It's kind of
player,
an
basically.
avatar a little bit.
But
Yeah.
you're getting a little kind of goofiness from Link in the opening, at least. Joking about getting paid a whole bunch to help out. And my favorite in this opening scene, Russell asks him why he gets so gloomy when the sun sets, and he says, "Because I'm hungry, and sunsets don't fill my stomach."
Got him. Yeah, this Link, we'll get into it more for sure with with what the chapters cover, but I do like, that you kind of have to make a decision when adapting these on how you want to characterize Link, because and depending on the game to varying degrees, he has more limited expression, but I think they have done a good job here in these chapters where we learn about his life in Ordon Village. He's only been there for a year, so he has there's a bit of what is his backstory early on. He's wrangling goats. Everyone in town loves him. He loves hanging out with the kids. They sumo wrestle together. They go fishing. Of course, he's got this close relationship with Russell, as we see, and of course Ilya we go into as well. But what do you think about Link's characterization? You mentioned I like that he's humorous, but he's likable. He's not like overly. He's not like cartoon Link, which is I like it, but it's a different thing. He's like fun and sassy, but in a way like there's that goofy little kid,
Yeah.
He's not a kid, but he's more grown here, but
yeah, and I think a lot of times when you see his goofier side, you'll also see like very quickly after that his more serious, contemplative side. He loves his life in the village, but he also seems to have anxiety about it, and about it being taken away from him, about some return to darkness.
Early on, he's actually approached by the mayor, I think, to embark upon this little quest to deliver like a ceremonial sword to the royal family, the Hyrule royal family, and he doesn't want to leave. He's like very almost paranoid about like the outside world, and he's very comfortable in his life in Ordon Village. So like there's a lot of mystery surrounding him too. Like he has kind of a quiet moment with Ilya, who she's like probably one of the characters he's the closest to, because she's the first one who greets him when he comes to the village, and they're the same age. There's probably a romantic undercurrent there too. They have a quiet scene early on where she sees like the Triforce mark that's on his hand. We don't really know what that's about yet. I think it's interesting, really, just to try and give Link a backstory, and it's gonna be interesting because he doesn't have one at all in the game. Really, he's just like a guy in the town. So I'm very curious as to how that is gonna play out in general.
He's very secretive, but he likes to just kind of casually brush things off to, I guess, draw off any suspicion of life outside of Ordon. I think of when Colin comes to visit his house. He's got all those books, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know what they say in there." But later on, towards the end of the section we're reading, he goes back to his book that he says he can't understand, and he starts reading it.
There's really an arc of, like, they're kind of rising the tension here. Like, early on, we just get, like, the shadow beasts that we saw in Light and Shadow Part 1 approaching that bridge that they close off. Link's having spooky dreams, you know, we're not quite sure what's going on. But then, you know, we get this more detail on Ordon Village, which I really like. I like seeing him hanging out with the kids. You mentioned the books. There's a little extra detail. It's kind of like filling out the world a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because in the video games, some of the stuff is kind of abstracted, you know what I mean? Like, Ordon Village, or like any place you go in a Zelda game, they call it a village, a city, but like, you know, 5 people live there, you know? And certain games do a better job of, you know, letting you suspend your disbelief with that. But here they really sell that there's like a vibrant community. So like with the books, as you mentioned, Link talks about how he places like special orders for them at Sarah's Sundries, and we see you know, people working the land. You know, it's an agricultural village where they make clothing out of the goat's fur. They obviously have the pumpkins, like stuff we know in the game, but it's cool to see, you know, and we see some of the characters we know from the game, but you get a sense that it's like a little bit more, like just ever so slightly more bustling than we see, even though it is a small village. Let's talk about the kids. They show early on Link has kind of a friendship with Colin, and that's kind of, I think, one of the main kids, but the one who sticks out the most in these early chapters, I think, is Tallow.
Yeah.
He's louder.
Oh, yeah. I
mean, it's very similar to the game. Every character, I think, just due to the fact that there's a little bit, you know, you're dedicating a little bit more to story, whereas compared to the game, the kids, they kind of exist to, they're a story, and I like it, but they kind of exist to just get you going down the path of the game. You know, they teach, like, to get you to use the slingshot, to get you to go into the woods. You know, here we spend some time with them, and like Tallow, who is this loud, rambunctious, kind of obnoxious kid, like he's a lot more likable, I think, in the manga. I think pretty much everyone is, to be honest. Like,
he kind of has the same thing going on as Colin, where he just like really admires Link, but in a very different way because their personalities are so different.
Yes, they both want to be exactly like Link, but Tallow is like, he's like, screw you, Dad, I'm not gonna help with the pumpkins. Like, he wanted to be a great warrior, but since he sees that Link is we see Link, you know, herding goats, and he's so awesome at it. And he's like, I want to be a ranch hand. And he's like taking off, you know? And
he's not afraid to call Link a jerk. Whereas Colin's like, oh, Link, you're the best.
Yeah, he's like a suck up. It's kind of how
Talon calls him out for it.
Yeah, but I think the manga with both of those characters, like in the game, it's fine the way it's conveyed in the game, I think, but like they do, like Colin comes off a little less pathetic in the book, or it's like more complex, you know what I mean? It's a more like human portrayal of it, where I feel like it's a little bit more, I don't want to say it's like one-dimensional, but it's verging on that a little bit more in the games, you know. But Link, you know, he's able to be like right back to Tallow, like he wants to be a ranch hand, and Link's like, no, I don't, you know, screw you.
I don't want to teach you, you'll slow me down.
That's one of the parts where Tallow is like, he wants to like revolt and like run away to the forest, and Link freaks out. He's like, no, you don't go there. Ah! You know. So another early moment for Link. We've also got Mallow, who doesn't really do a whole lot. He
does one very key thing, which I'm sure we're gonna throw up on the screen.
Yeah, you had to see. Well, okay, so
during the sumo wrestling.
Yes, he's Link. He's Tallow's younger brother, and while there's not much from him, he's actually at this point in the game, I feel like, a little bit more funny. He has more dialogue, and it's always in the little text, typically, I think. But here, you get the sense that he's sort of Tallow's sidekick in a weird way, in the way that they want to be to Link. I like it's subtle, but I think he does look up to his brother. And one of the ways we see it is he helps him cheat in their sumo wrestling match against Link, where he takes his fingers and
he pokes him. You'll see it. You'll see it. I love this this page, 2-page bit, because you just get like the craziest expression on Link's face, and then on the other side it's just like a close-up of his eyes, and it's like super, it's like beautiful.
Oh.
And it's just like the contrast is amazing.
It's like amazing. We also got Beth, who I feel like Beth is just like Link is a hunk, you know.
Yeah, that was her big moment.
Yeah, she's not. Well, she's like Mallow. Like they're like the side characters. But we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. You know, he also has this friendship with Russell, and we talked about the sword thing. And you know, Russell, the mayor, they don't really understand why Link doesn't want to go, and we have a little bit of a thing where they talk about how it's so prestigious of a thing for them to go, and you get to meet Princess Zelda,
the most beautiful woman in Hyrule.
I mean, who could argue with that?
I mean,
they have a nice, I think it's like a full page thing.
Yeah,
she does.
She looks beautiful. So then we talked about Ilia. This is another case where I think the character has done a way bigger service in the manga than like the game itself. And I think all of them, like most of the kids, like I think the manga does a great job of getting across the art style of Twilight Princess to me. We talked about that a little bit in the last book, but it really gets that art style over to me a lot more. Like some of the characters, like actually in game, their character models look kind of weird. But I think a lot of them, like pretty much everyone, I think has a cool design in this manga. And I can see how they like kind of brought those designs to life. I think Ilia is one of those characters, but I also think her character, just from spending more time with them and kind of having more fleshed out writing, like really gets her character across a lot more. There's a scene early on where Link is, on like a little cute date with Ilia. They're talking about how they love hanging out with the kids. I think we get a couple scenes like this, and I think it's really sweet. I've never gotten the game Ilia hate.
Okay.
Like, I know there's some people that just cannot stand her, like, hate her more than any other. I don't know if that's
universal, though.
Yeah.
I just think in general
I think she's fine.
Yeah.
She's very caring about Epona.
Mm-hmm.
I think that comes across in both.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything like overly negative about any of the characters really in the game. I just think they don't. I feel like they're early on. They're okay for like a video game character, but then like I don't know. I just feel like here they're developed a lot more. They're a lot more interesting and likable to some extent too. I think they just feel like more real. They do have like more conversations about things other than taking care of Epona, or
I guess.
Shooting the slingshot, or hurting the goats, or whatever. Like actual like character moments for them. I mean, they have those in the game, but we don't need to dwell on it too much. But we get more here. While they're on their date, we hear a wolf howl, some foreshadowing. Link talks about how he doesn't want to leave. He wants to stay and protect them, the village, the kids, from whatever's out there. And Ilia has a gift for Link, but it's a secret. Again, cute.
He really wants to know what it is. He's like begging, like, tell me what it is.
Tell me, please.
She's like, no.
So Link's having dinner with Russell's family, which I like. It almost seems like Link doesn't have a family, but I kind of get the sense that, especially with his relationship with Colin and Russell, that they're maybe more of like closest thing he has to a family, Russell, he makes a big show in front of Link. I love this scene. He pulls out the sword or whatever, and he wants him to be more than a ranch hand. He wants him to be his apprentice, to be a swordsman, and I think he's really trying to do this because, you know, he wants him to, one, take upon this quest, but also, you know, to step up a little bit. You know, Colin, he shows concern for Link. You can tell Link is conflicted. Link's freaking out. You know, you can tell he's got this guilt. You talked about him staying up, like, reading. That's the one thing then that starts to creep into here is, like, it's not only the fear, but he has, like, some sort of guilt that we don't quite know what it is yet. So I like that aspect of it too. And then here is where we start to get some of the ominous stuff really starts to creep in. You know, we start to see there's maybe a blight with some of the Ordon pumpkins, and this is where we have Yaggle. Is that how you pronounce it? Yaggle from the games. He's one of the pumpkin farmers. He's Tallow's dad. I don't recall. But he's doing a cover up. He's dumping the pumpkins over the bridge, and here we get some ominous monster speak. What'd you think about that? Where they're like,
"Oh, that was cool."
You throw away.
They're like, "You throw away everything that you deem bad."
Yeah, I don't know if that doesn't really have anything to do with why they're there, right? But they're just like, they're mad. Well, we don't know. But
yeah.
Just going based off the game, it seems like they're just mad in general, you know.
Yeah, I kind of thought about, like, earlier when Link's doing the goat herding, there's, like, some implication that there's something going on.
Oh yeah,
with one of the goats. 'Cause he's like, once he calms the one down, he's like, oh, its eyes aren't crazy anymore.
It's affecting the crops, the animals, all of that. Here Link is, like, dreaming, and he sees, in the dream, he sees Midna, Zant, and the wolf, which is apparently a golden wolf. So here's something else I'm interested in too, like what, because we talked about it in the first chapter, but obviously we know what the golden wolf is in the game, but clearly there seems to be some actual connection to Midna in this, so I'm wondering how that will play out. I think that's pretty interesting. But then Link he's awoken by Tallow, who's, you know, he won't let go. He's still bugging Link, who just kind of storms off. Like I said, Link is not having any of it from Tallow, which I like. So Tallow, he throws a fit. He tries to steal Epona, and Colin tries to stop him. And here, this kind of was like what I was talking about, where it feels like a bit more of a in-depth exploration of these characters, where it's just a minor moment, but like Tallow pushes Colin. He's kind of like bullying him a little bit, and I did really feel bad for Colin here.
I don't know, he often seems like a kind of stand back and watch kind of guy, kind of kid, and then he finally stands up and he just gets pushed down and insulted.
Sad. Yeah. The closest this really kind of made me think of the Link and Mido relationship in Ocarina of Time. To a lesser extent, you don't get much. I mean, maybe in the manga, but I guess Link doesn't get bullied that hard, though. You know, and in fact, I think he usually kind of one-ups him in the mangas, typically, but here it was like, I don't know, it was kind of sad. Minor detail, but I kind of wrote these chronologically. There's just such a random scene with the cat.
Yeah, I wrote a note that's just kitty ! Because it's so cute.
Link just finds the cat from Sarah's Sundries and picks it up and was like, I don't have any food for you. And the cat's just like, meow.
Yeah, I guess my one thought is that it's like across from the page where the first Twilight comes and attacks one of the village people. So I don't know, maybe like the cat is sensing something going on. It's like, hey, Link, something's going on.
Could be. Yeah, later, you know, in the game, spoiler alert, when you're the wolf, you can talk to the animals. So maybe the cat will be like, I tried to warn you, dummy. I want to know.
That would be good.
I'm curious to see if Link will have conversations. There's you know, all kinds of animals already. I love there's an image earlier that we didn't really mention, but when Link's riding Epona and Epona's like posing for the camera a little bit, like glamorous looking. So I'm hoping we get Link talking to Epona, the cat, the goats. There's other animals.
It makes me you know, if you play Twilight Princess right after Minish Cap, which we've both done, you see like a lot of Link communicating with the animals when he's Minish size. They should do a Minish Cap manga.
Isn't there?
Is there?
Not gonna look it up right now.
All right.
But let us know in the comments and I'll Google it later. The ending of Omens ends with a man getting turned into a shadow beast, which was a pretty spooky scene on its own, and the tension is now higher than ever. They've done a good job, I think, of having these chapters be hangout chapters while, ramping up some of the darkness that's coming, the Twilight, whatever it may be. I don't know, what do you think of these chapters?
I thought they were really cool. I know a lot of you were just talking about the hangout and the tension creeping in, and I felt like a lot of the pages were designed so that of the two pages right next to each other, a lot of times you get one page of hangout and then the other page you'd see something that was ooh, something's going on.
Yeah, I think it was paced out really well. I feel like it does kind of endear me to a lot of these characters more so than the game, even though it is like comparing apples to oranges a little bit. In the game you're trying to get into some gameplay and stuff like that, and there are fun things that happen early on in the gameplay related to hanging out in the town. You go fishing, you get the baby basket, whatever you call those things. So there is that sort of stuff that's cool. You learn, the tutorial is a cute tutorial with the kids, the way they describe it, and again, it's like apples and oranges, but I thought here, all the characters come across way nicer to me. We're going alongside me also playing the game over on my channel on GUI fame for GUI's Dungeon Dive. So if you haven't, go check that out. We have begun that, and it's been a lot of fun. And we're attempting to kind of mirror, the story of here. We're the other side of the Twilight to the light coin of these series. I don't know about that metaphor, but like I said, we're gonna be mirroring my Let's Play series, but obviously the way events have unfolded are already kind of in different sort of orders and different pacing, so it's not gonna be one-to-one. But
I don't think I knew that you could pet the goat in the game.
You can pet the goat. Can you pet the goat?
I watched your video and I was like, you can pet the goat?
If you want to find out more things like that, you should go watch my video, which I'll link below. You might be doing some Twilight Princess.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna play through the game, and I think I'm going to record some of the side content and put that in some videos on my channel.
Just so everyone knows, since we didn't mention it before, for the next episode, we are just going to finish off the rest of book 1. So chapters 5, 6, 7, 8. It'll be cool. I want to learn more about Link's backstory. I want to know what the deal with, if there's a connection with the wolf and Midna, what that is. With that, we will see everybody in the next episode where we will cover the final half of book 1.